Hi, we are from Group 8 and we will present about quantitative method. My name is Ellyna.
My name is Bagus Aditya.
My name is Annisa.
So the presentation will start by Bagus.
The first is quantitative method. Quantitative approach focus on carefully measuring or experimentally manipulating a parsimonious set of variables to answer theory guide, research, question, and hypothesis. In this chapter, the focus is on the essential components of a method section in proposal for a survey or experimental study. So the definition survey and experiments. A survey design provides a quantitative description or trends, attitudes, and opinions of a population or test association among variables of a population by studying a sample of the population. An experimental design systematically manipulates one or more variables in order to evaluate how this manipulation impact an outcome of interest. Importantly, an experiment isolates the effect of this manipulation by holding all the other variables constant. When the one group receives a treatment and the other group does not, the experimenter can isolate whether the treatment and not other factor influence the outcome. Component of a survey study method plan. The design of a survey method plan follows a standard format. Numerous examples of this format appear in scholar journal, and this example provide useful model. Survey design. The first part of the survey method plan section can introduce reader to the basic purpose and rationale for survey research. Begin the section by describing the rationale for the design. Specifically, first, identify the purpose of survey research. 2. Indicate why a survey method is the preferred type of approach for this study. 3. Indicate whether the survey will cross-sectional or with the data collected at one point in time, or whether it will be longitudinal with data collected over time. 4. Specific the form of data collection. The population and sample. In the method section, follow the type of design with characteristic of the population and the sampling procedure methodology have written excellent discussion about the underlying logic of sampling theory. Here are essential aspects of the population and sample to describe in a research plan. 1. Population. 2. Sampling design. 3. Type of sampling. 4. Stratification. 5. Sample size determination. And 6. Power analysis. Power analysis is required 3 pieces of information. First, an estimate of the size of correlation. Second, a two-tailed alpha value. And the third, a beta value. Instrumentation. As part of rigorous data collection, the proposal developer also provides detailed information about the actual survey instruments to be used in the study. Consider the following. Name the survey instrument used to collect data, validity of score using the instrument, reliability of score on the instrument, sample item, content of instrument, pilot testing, and the last one, administering the survey.
Now I will present about the variables in the study. Although readers of proposal learn about the variables in proposed statements and research questions or hypothesis sections, it is useful in the method section to relate the variables to the specific questions or hypotheses on the instrument. One technique is to relate the variables, the research questions or hypotheses, and sample items on the survey instrument so that a reader can easily determine how the data collection connects to the variables and questions or hypotheses. Data analysis. In the proposal, present information about the computer programs used and the steps involved in analyzing the data. Websites contain detailed information about the various statistical analysis computer programs available. Some of the more frequently used programs are the following. First, IBM SPSS Statistics 24 for Windows and Mac. Second, GMP. Third, Minitab Statistical Software 17. Fourth, Systat 13. Fourth, SAS or STAT. Fifth, STATA Release 14. And then interpreting results and writing a discussion section. An interpretation in quantitative research means that the researchers draws conclusion from the results for the research questions, hypotheses, and the larger meaning of the results. This interpretation involves several steps. First, report how the results addresses the research questions or hypotheses. Second, two forms of practical evidence of the results should also be reported. A, the effect size, and B, the confidence interval. The final step is to draft a discussion sections where you discuss the implications of the results in terms of how they are consistent with reviewed or extend previous related studies in this scientific literature. Components of an experimental study method plan. An experimental method plan follows a standard form. A, participants and design. B, procedure. And 3, measures. These 3 sequential sections generally are sufficient. Participants, readers need to know about the selections, assignment, and number of participants who will take part in experiment. Variables. The variables need to be specified in the formal research statement and described in detail in the procedure section of the experimental method plan. Instrumentation and materials. Just like in survey method plan, a sound experimental study plan calls for a thorough discussion about the instruments used, their development, their items, their scales, and reports of reliability and validity of scores on past use. Experimental procedures. The specific experimental design procedures also need to be identified. This discussion involves indicating the overall experiment type, setting reasons for the design, and advancing a visual model to help the reader understand the procedures. Identify the type of experimental design to be used in the proposed study. Identify what is being compared in the experiment. Provide a diagram or a figure to illustrate the specific research design to be used. Traits to validity. Internal validity traits are experimental procedures, treatments, or experiences of the participants that threaten the researchers' ability to draw correct inference from the data about the population in experiment. External validity traits arise when experimenters draw incorrect inference from the sample data to other persons, other settings, and past or future situations. Other traits that might be mentioned in the method sections are the traits to statistical conclusion validity that arise when experimenters draw inaccurate inference from the data because of inadequate statistical power of the violation of statistical assumptions.
Last, I will explain about the procedure. A researcher needs to be described in detail the sequential by step-by-step procedure for conducting the experiment. A reader should be able to clearly understand the cover story, the design being used, the manipulated variables and outcome variable, and the timeline of activities. And for the data analysis, tell the reader about the types of statistical analysis that will be implemented on the dataset. Interpreting result and writing a discussion section. The final step in an experiment is to interpret the findings in light of the hypothesis or research question, and to draft a discussion section. In this interpretation, address whether the hypothesis or question were supported or whether they were refuted, consider whether the independent variable manipulation was effective.
Okay, that's all about our presentation. Thank you.